I'm expecting him to come back with a fastball because otherwise he's going to walk me. The fastball comes right down the middle, and I sit on it a little bit more. I take a big stride, and I just crush it. And I crush it, and I'm seeing it fly, right?
Right.
But me, I never hit for power, so I'm like, all right, this is a double in the gap. I need to get on my horse. So I'm sprinting. I remember my first base coach was like waving me to go to second. So as I'm going to round it, I look up and the ball bounces in the parking lot. Like I'm so confused. Like I have such joy in my body. Like it's so hard to describe that feeling. Like when you see the ball behind the fence bounce in the parking lot, and it's like, oh my God, I just homered. Excuse me. So we did that. I round second base. Everybody's high-fiving me. Like, they're my teammates, so at the end of the day, they're going to be happy for me. And I remember stepping on home plate, and it was a great moment. So that's probably my favorite baseball memory. And then, unfortunately, you know, my teammate that got drafted by the Giants, he hit a solo shot the next inning. So it was great. It was great. He tied it right back up. But I was like, dang, he's not gonna let me shine. It's all good though. We had a great time in high school.
Before I move to the next topic, you prefer bat flip or just running the bases when you hit a home run?
So I wasn't that aware that I could hit it out. So what I would do is, if I hit it and it was looking good, just throw my bat and run. That's it. And you know, I think I love watching bat flips. I think bat flips are really cool to watch when people know they got a hold of one, and it's like, all right, they get a little bit of time to show off a little bit. So I'm definitely a fan of the bat flips nowadays.
Yeah, I'm rocking with the bat flips too. And also, he is a great baseball mind too. So hey, if you ever want to get some baseball takes, hey, follow my dog Chris King. But let's get into this play-by-play aspect of why everybody at Full Sail see you doing the play-by-play calling and swagging out. I know you did some play-by-play calling before. Where was that, and how did you start? I know I was a double barrel, but rock with me.
Centerville High School. That's where I went to high school. Obviously, I told you about that. And we had a radio program called WCWT 107.3. So it had a nice rhyme to it, nice ring to it. But yeah, so Mrs. Rapak, that's my program director in high school. She was one of the first ever women in Canada TV. So she knew what she was doing. She knew how to teach us. And I was actually 16 years old. I remember it because we couldn't join it until our junior year. But I was a young high schooler, so I was like 16, going on 17 or whatever. And my first game I got to call was a women's basketball game. So my junior year, I did women's basketball. And then my senior year, I ended up doing football, men's, and women's basketball. So that's where I got my start.
Dissolve on everyone else. Aaron Lee on the drive. She kisses it off the glass for two. 12 to
That's where I got my
nothing.
start. I knew I wanted to do play-by-play because, I don't know, I just always had the idea in my head that I wanted to be around sports regardless if I wasn't playing. You know what I mean? And so I remember actually at like 9 years old, I was recording like voice memos of me doing games on the TV.
Please tell me you got a clip. You got some clips of that.
I don't think so. I think it's long gone.
Y'all.
It's probably on a long lost iPod or something like. You know what I mean? But I think that's what really gave me the motivation to do it. And then once I actually put on the headset and started calling games, it just the flow kind of seemed natural. Obviously, there was some nerves in the first couple games and some mishaps, but at the end of the day, like I just was on top of the flow right away. And then you talk about doing play-by-play. Well, I was doing radio play-by-play, so these people can't see what's going on. So I have to be overly descriptive.
You gotta basically color it out for everybody.
Right,
with words.
exactly. So that's what I was doing, and I think I did a pretty good job at that. And Mrs. Rapak had the trust in me and put me on football, and then both basketball teams. Yeah. So.
How are you prepping up back then? Because I know your preparation is a little different now, but how are you prepping for the games back in the day? And you're 16 years old calling games.
So basically, thankfully, the conference that my high school plays in, the GWAC, they have every stat. And that's so crucial in high school because, you know, sometimes people don't keep track of that. So we would print out the stats from both teams. and I would just make a whole sheet of notes. So then I would divide them. I would do one side Centerville, one side the other team. And I would just look for nuggets about certain players, like, oh, who do they have offers from, if they have any offers, what's their backstory. I would talk to coaches, some of the coaches, because it's a high school, so we could just go talk to any of our coaches during the day because they all teach there. And then so I would do that. Unfortunately, I didn't get to call baseball because I was playing, but yeah, that's how I got my start, and then that's how I would do my notes. I just do 2 columns and then just write out the stats and stuff.
You can no question this next question. What is your most embarrassing moment calling a game back then?
Back then? Yeah. Okay, I got one. So, not a lot of people wanted to do the games, right? Because, people wanted to be there. Yeah. And even the people in my program, they wanted to be at the games. They wanted to be in the student section for the football games, the basketball games. So, I can't blame them, but this was just a different mentality that I had. I knew this was something I wanted to do, so I didn't care about being in the student section for these games. I wanted to be on the call. Everybody that's at their house listening, I wanted to be the voice for a couple of years.
Lit.
And I remember football season, my senior year, we had nobody to do it with me. We had 0. Like, the people who were doing the games with me my junior year, they just only wanted to do basketball. They didn't want to do football. And so my teacher ends up finding a replacement. And it's a young lady, and she's new in the program, just a junior. And we go for the first football game, and me and her just didn't mesh really well, there was just a barrier there that I think I just had the one up on experience, and so
okay.
It's not to say anything bad about this particular young lady. I mean, she filled in when there was nobody else, so I appreciate her for that. So there was just a lot of dead air when that happened. So obviously when you're doing play-by-play and you are trying to carry the broadcast by yourself, it's difficult. Right. Even when you have somebody with you, and they might not be talking as much. I think she was maybe just nervous, which I understand. Yeah. You know what I mean? But there was a lot of dead air in there, and some points that were made that yeah. So so I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, I would say those are some of my embarrassing moments. But hey, you gotta live and learn. So it's fine.
Trust me, I be messing up all the time. I probably messed up 3 times in this interview already. But I know the path for you to get the Full Sail was a tad bit different. I know with COVID and the play-by-play, and you had to stop calling games. Mm-hmm. You explain that a little bit better for me.
Yeah, so I went to the University of Dayton. That's obviously, my home city school.
Shout out to Dan Patrick.
Yeah, Dan is a graduate. So I went to University of Dayton, and I went there right after COVID hit. So my senior season got taken away for baseball, and I didn't have graduation. We did like this little parade graduation, which was
it's up for y'all with the COVID and like how they did y'all schooling situation with that.
So I went there to the University of Dayton and joined their broadcast media school. It's kind of like this, but definitely a step down below Full Sail, right? And the way we would be able to call games it was like based on seniority, but they wouldn't allow us to do play-by-play. They paid a guy to do play-by-play when, that's obviously something I wanted to do. So why would I just do color? You know what I mean? So I tried it. I did color for one game. It was Morehead State versus Dayton baseball, I remember, and that was a fun game to do. But that was the only game I got because you would sign up for games, and then it was COVID, so if a team got COVID, the game would be canceled. And I signed up for 5 to 10 games, and I only got one, and it was only color commentary. So I knew from then on, I was like, all right, I think I need to make a change, even though I have so many friends at UD still and love the University of Dayton, my whole heart. Love that campus. It's great. Well, obviously still love the basketball team. But I just knew it was time for a change, and then I made my way down here to Full Sail, and it's been everything I've ever wanted.
Welcome to Snooty Podcast.